Okay.
Okay.
We're in a very serious mood today.
No, I'm just trying to recover from mac and cheese.
Sorry.
That was great.
It was good.
Oh my god. Anyway, so doomsday prepping. They were like, there's already a heightened state of paranoia with everyone. I mean, we were all scared during COVID-19. But that with religious anxiety on top of that, and then thinking the end of the world is coming, everything is just really escalating to something it really doesn't need to be. And at this point, Jody decides to take advantage of that as an opportunity to further connect with the Franke family, particularly Ruby. So she calls them from her house one day during COVID and reports paranormal activity in her home, like shadow figures, strange sounds. And Kevin and Ruby and the kids, I don't know why you'd bring your kids if you thought Satan was at someone's house, but they went over, to battle.
To show them evil. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Kids, this is what it looks like.
Yeah. This is
Satan himself.
This is it.
I just wanted to give you a formal introduction.
Right.
But they go over to her place, and Kevin and Ruby think that Satan is in the home and trying to fight against Jody because she's, trying to do God's work. And we could get into Jody's house at this point. It's like a mansion out in the middle of nowhere.
It's an ugly house.
It's ugly. It's nothing pretty. There's multiple.
It's kind of her aesthetic, though, isn't it?
You're not wrong.
A little
Ooh,
bit.
burn.
No, I think what it is like, honestly, I think it's what she did with it. It would have never been my choice. I don't think any of our choices are along that, what is it, like desert modern vibe or whatever.
Right. I dig a pool, but
yeah.
Right. Well, it's a nice house. It's just not well decorated.
She didn't care to decorate it. She didn't put any extra umph on it. She was just like, give me dirt and stone and put it together, and I will reside inside. It almost looks
bachelor patty.
She kind of was. So they start looking through the home. I guess it was like a 2-hour tour, which I don't know what house would take 2 hours unless it's a castle in Scotland, but I don't know. But they went on this tour, and then Kevin says to this day he can't explain some of the things that went down during their time there. Like, I guess there was a weird handprint with extra long fingernails up on the glass, and that didn't make sense to him. Like, we're thinking aliens have entered the home. They've entered the chat.
She probably went to Sally's Beauty, or probably went to somebody, got some nails added onto her hands, and was like...
Well, it could have been his wife's print. I'm just saying.
Oh, God.
Lizzie. That's so gross.
You have to ruin it.
I'll take a mile.
And,
yeah, she don't like inches. That's for sure.
God. You took it there.
It's not just me.
She said it.
Oh.
She ain't doing
What was other than that handprint? I can't think past it now. There were also strange sounds like crashes and stuff coming from different parts of the house, and no one was there. And anyway, they were all freaked out. The bishop
activity.
The bishop kept coming over and trying to bless the house, and it wasn't working. And he was like, "She needs to go with you guys because I can't keep coming over
making
and
this
doing
house
this."
Call again.
Yeah.
So at this point, the Franke family take Jody into their home, which, your therapist moving to your house, that's fine. It's not weird at all.
No, that's weird. That's definitely
totally normal.
breaching something HIPAA. It has to be.
And at this point, Sherry is at that age where she's moving out to college. So I think she moves out in a few weeks, but she still found it annoying when Ruby was like, you need to clean out your room because Jody's moving in. And Sherry was like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And Sherry starts looking into Jody because she's not liking the whole vibe. It's gotten very paranoid. It's gotten very just latched onto Jody. She's just she hasn't liked Ruby's behavior towards the children because Chad is no longer on the shit list when it comes to the kids. It's the younger ones now that are being presented as evil.
Well, because he aged out.
Yeah, he aged out and started being more compliant, and he had like a good connection with Jody at that point.
Yeah. Well, he's low-key kind of sipping the Kool-Aid.
Right.
A little bit.
He is for sure. Him and Kevin.
You don't have a choice, but
yeah. He's embracing it.
Yeah.
But Sherry was growing concerned, so she researched Jody's background, and this is how she found out Jody's license had actually been revoked. There was no legitimate credentials. She raised concerns to her family, but they were ultimately dismissed because, again, Jody's just battling cancel culture. You know, she's just living by the word of God, and the haters be hating, and, you know. Yeah. And so she was pretty much ignored, and then she left for college and was like, well, fuck it.
Well, yeah, because if she would have continued to push too, they would have been like, it's you. You're the
you're
the evil.
Satan's in you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like it's good that she was like, you know what, peace out, Cub Scout.
Right. I mean, everybody starts pointing fingers at this point. So Sherry left at a good time, I feel like. Ruby and Jody, they begin having more of an intimate connection, which Kevin states was uncomfortable to witness at the time. And she was still having demonic possessions within the Franke family home, so Satan followed them. Speaking of these possessions coming in a timely manner, it was late at night where they got so bad. And so she couldn't sleep alone. And Ruby at this point goes up to her husband and says, I'm going to start sleeping up in the bedroom with her, so maybe she'll be able to get some sleep at night. So anyway, they start sleeping in the same bedroom together.
That's so weird.
And Kevin sleeps downstairs. At this point, Sherry comes back during Christmas time to visit the family. And at this point, she goes into her bedroom to grab something. And she sees a bunch of massage oils and candles around the bed. And she goes, ha. And she says there's like a dark energy in the room. And that's where I'm saying the spiritual activity is kind of coming in, just not in the way they're painting it. Because I completely believe that. And
you believe
she just knew something was really off. And also how Ruby was treating the children, it had gotten even worse to where the kids didn't even get any Christmas presents. And when one of the neighborhood kids dropped off a gift for one of the Ruby's children, Ruby made them throw it away because
they weren't allowed to have Christmas that year or something.
Yeah, because they were selfish and greedy, and so they had to repent, and they didn't earn it, and Santa didn't come and give them gifts this year. So
they're on the naughty list.
Yeah.
That's sad to me.
So Sherry grew very concerned. She had already been concerned, but it just got worse at this. So her and Chad at this point still have a close relationship, therapist to client. And I guess Chad had confessed to her that he was struggling with pornography at the time. And Jody told Chad that for his repentance, he should really talk to his mom about it and tell her what he did. So Chad goes to Ruby and tells her, hey, I'm really sorry, but I was watching porn and I'm working on it. And at this point, Ruby's devastated. She starts crying.
Oh, boy.
She's so disappointed. And then that turns quickly into rage when she looks at him and goes, so it's your fault that Jody has been dealing with spiritual torment because you've been watching that in the same household.
But she's been having these possessions before she came over into the house.
Right.
Yeah, but
he's easy to blame at this point.
Yeah.
He's in the line.
The timing doesn't really add up because she was already getting troubled, but
But you see what I'm saying? Like, she's like, oh, you know, she's got possessions. That's okay. We'll figure it out. Oh, you watch pornography? Oh my. You watch pornography?
Right.
You are out of here, bucko. I don't know you. You're not my son. Like, she just
demons are welcome, but pornography?
Right, exactly. Wait, we can't have this.
Well, I'm pretty sure we all are aware that her priorities are whack.
Very much so.
Whack. Yeah, very self-centered. There was obviously an ulterior motive here.
Obviously. She was looking for the smallest thing could have sent her off. You could have walked into the house with the shoes on and she'd be like,
she was over being a mom. At this point, she just wanted to be, you know,
a prophet.
Oh, so true. And I'm going to go on my tangent about that later on.
All
but
right.
You're saving it for a good moment.
I have been because she's spot on with it.
It's true.
So at this point, Chad is only 17. And Ruby says, you can't live here anymore. And kicks him out. And then turns around and says to Kevin, you have brought lust and selfishness into this home. And you've got to go too. Yeah. And she called it a separation. Like they're now separating. Not divorce, separation.
Everyone
not just from her, but from the kids too.
Yeah. Like no contacts.
Nothing.
What did you say, Lizzie?
If everyone there got laid more often, it'd probably be a lot more relaxed.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
they just all got lust on their mind, you know? I don't
is...
really talk about it when I'm good, you know? I'm in a good situation. I don't think about it all the time.
it's sad because I feel like Kevin would have been all about it, but Ruby wasn't. Because, like you said, he was
a closeted lesbian.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, I think that, like, what man doesn't want to have sex like that, though? You know what I mean? Like, most of them are, like, into it. Yeah. Anytime you give them the green light, they're most likely going to. Yeah. Not all of them, but most of them. Yeah. So it's like she was probably just, blocking him for a while.
As punishment.
And for his what he was going to give her, she didn't want. She was like, I don't take the inches.
Jody was cock-blocking him for sure.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. Total cock block.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But at this point, he is kicked out of the home. And Ruby literally films
no more
his
penis
departure.
in the house.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
What?
Yeah, no, go ahead. She was... She was filming it and she was smirking because she was like, this is good content.
Like,
Daddy's saying bye-bye to the babies. I don't have to deal with them anymore. She was so happy about it.
What is up with that accent? She doesn't even talk like that in the documentary.
We've had like 4 accents in this one episode.
I'm sorry. No, seriously though, she was. She just wasn't
making it sound like the Franke family lived in the back country. It's Utah. It's not the boonies. I mean there are
we don't know what they do over there.
It's redneck behavior.
It's
giving them a redneck accent.
This is suburbia.
It's worse than redneck behavior.
Happy Valley.
Yeah, that's some Happy Valley. Like, I don't know what that is. But she was filming. She was smirking. She's like, this is great content. And she was happy to pretty much like have Sherry out, Chad out, and now Kevin out.
And Sherry, when she heard that everyone had left, Kevin and Chad had left the home, she reached out to Kevin after he sent a text to the whole family saying, hey, I'm not talking to anybody anymore. Please don't reach out to me.
Right. Yeah. Like, he was like, I'm not going to talk to you.
Yeah. And she messaged him what's going on. And I think he might have blocked her or something.
Yeah, he blocked her.
Yeah.
And
then and then Ruby called Sherry and said that she was disowned. Yeah. And, she's
that's crazy.
Fallen from.
Yeah. And Kevin's just kind of waiting until like he's did his time.
The gifs I would send after that, like, it would blow your hair.
I'm locked up. They won't let me
out. They would be all so sarcastic. I mean, you'd laugh, but then you'd also probably be pissed.
I wish
it would
Kevin
be so
would have
great.
just like, I don't condone affairs and I don't condone stepping out when you're still married and stuff, but I kind of wish he would have found somebody else during that point in time too, and just was like, what? This is what love is. This is what happiness looks like. Oh my goodness, let me go get my kids. I don't know. Like, had an awakening.
Yeah,
I wish he had protected his kids.
Oh,
yeah,
that's my biggest issue with Kevin.
He was deluded.
Same.
Oh, Ruby also cut Sherry off from car insurance.
Yes,
took off
yes,
car insurance.
yes.
Yeah, so Sherry was completely on her own. Chad was completely on his own. Kevin was on his own. None of them are talking to each other. And now the 4 youngest children are with Ruby and Jody at home.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's when...
For now.
This is early 2023. Neighbors start to notice that Ruby is largely absent and often seen filming in St. George, which is, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, that's where Jody's home is.
It's like 2.5 hours?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 hours.
Yeah. A long drive away.
Yeah, for sure. And she would leave her younger children there while she was off doing God knows what with Jody.
Pretty much all day.
Yeah. And so the neighbors are starting to notice. They were also noticing the content on Connections was getting a lot more grim. And they started getting really concerned and trying to ask for welfare checks. And Sherry at this time was calling in, called into the police, asked for a welfare check.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the police couldn't get a signed warrant from the judge to search the home. And they weren't really given the opportunity to talk to the children because Ruby wasn't going to let that happen.
Right.
And so I think that happened a few times.
Yeah.
They were not able to complete the checks. And one of the neighbors in the documentary, I don't recall her name, but she had reported it to CPS. And they were like, okay, well, in order to follow up with this case, we need to know if you saw any signs of physical abuse.
Yeah.
And at this time, the neighbor said, no, I didn't see anything. And she was almost in tears when she admitted to the interviewer. She said she wished she had lied.
Yeah.
She wished she had lied.
Yeah, I
so
remember that.
because the case was closed after that.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
sad.
they called Sherry and they told her, they're like, I'm sorry, like we're gonna have to close the case. And that's when Sherry was just like devastated because she was like, I know something's
and
going
the worker,
on.
and the worker was like, personally, I'm very concerned, but there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
It sucks.
And what's interesting is in 2020, it wasn't because this happened in early 2023, but in 2020, people were already concerned. Change.org petition requesting a CPS investigation into the Franke children gathered 243 signatures online.
I feel like they could have, done more.
Yeah. And
I do think
CPS
so,
is
too.
actually now under investigation for its mishandling of the Franke case, which it should.
It should be.
I agree.
Absolutely.
There were so many red flags.
So many people that were concerned.
Yeah.
And then like just like they said, like they were monitoring the cars and who wasn't home. It's just like, even if like you don't see physical abuse, the fact that you are like, I'm like, the car's not there.
Right.
And the kids are still there.
Like the kids are still there and they're peeping out the window. But then they said that like for at one point, I don't know when it was, but they stopped seeing the kids in the window.
Yeah.
The one thing I noticed, because I watched some of their videos, is whenever she would punish by not giving them food.
Yep.
That to me is so heartbreaking, and it's really telling.
She was really public about that.
Yeah. I mean, how skinny her kids are.
Yeah.
It's obvious that she was like, you don't get food.
Yeah. And the neighbors are saying like before they stopped going to school and stuff, they were getting skinny, but also just quiet and not very enthusiastic
in the videos, they
or
were just
happy
completely
kids anymore.
quiet.
Probably have no energy anymore.
No
energy, but it's
lethargic.
like walking on eggshells, like making sure you're doing the right thing. At this point, you don't want to like poke the bear.
Yeah.
You're just like, ugh.
Right. Too afraid to say anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Chad and Kevin at this point, they're still attending weekly online meetings with the men's group that Jody held through Connections, trying to win back Jody and Ruby's approval.
Yeah.
Jody and Ruby. Yeah. I almost got their names mixed up in my head. And then when neighbors were asking Ruby where Kevin went, she would just be like, well, every marriage could use a separation.
Yeah. Well, and the people were reaching out to Kevin too, like, dude, man, you need to go to the child, like, your children, like, what's going on, man, like, blah, 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 and he was just ignoring them.
He was blocking them, even when, like, shit really, really hit the fan, and they reached out, like, hey, cops are at your door, or whatever, he would just block them.
Responding.
Which just...
I'm sorry, but wake up,
That
dude.
should be the time where you should be
the
like,
fuck
oh,
up.
hold on, like, I know I'm trying to
your
work things
loyalty?
out with my wife, but at the same
Yeah.
time, my kids
Your kids
should
become
be
number
your
one.
party.
But
Always be
that just
number
was
one.
never his priority. I feel it was always just trying to win Jody's approval.
I think,
Yeah.
I think
Ruby's
so sad.
approval.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, same
I
thing
think
now.
I think that's just super obvious. The fact that he completely ignored, and it wasn't just like ignoring red flags. He's being told like this is happening, and he's choosing to go. Don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And then at this point, I just have a few lines from some of the content that Ruby was sharing at this time with Jody. One of the clips I saw, she said, "I love principles more than I love my children."
Right, I remember that.
In the documentary, she said
that,
that. And then,
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
and then she was talking about, there was another clip where she was talking about if your child was on fire, you're not going to sit there and be like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Let me get you a blanket. No, you're going to throw him on the ground and roll him. And they'll be like, oh, that hurts. And she goes, no, dear, hold still. I'm getting the fire out.
Yeah. So pretty much like I'm going to beat my children as much as I can to get the fire out. They're not going to understand it, but I'm doing the right thing.
Out of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one statement.
As people are commenting like, this woman's lost her mind.
Yeah.
That's a
CPS,
bad analogy.
anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, she was getting
wild.
so much hate comments now. And then another line, children are not entitled to privacy. And she would like ring a bell in the morning and come downstairs, and they would all be like single file. Like it was dark.
That's
It was
wild.
dark. And August 30th of 2023 is a breaking point. So a 12-year-old boy, they don't give the names of the 4 youngest children for their privacy, but the 12-year-old boy, I think he's one of the 2 youngest out of the 4. And he escapes from Jody's home. He was at Jody's home apparently, and runs to a neighbor nearby and asks for a ride to the police station. The clip is absolutely heartbreaking.
It is
You
so
hear the call.
sad.
He's so
And he's
sweet.
It's like a family matter, and I'm just like,
He's so
Or a
sweet,
personal
and you
matter,
can
maybe
just
he
tell
said.
he like respectful and everything, but it's also a behavior of like, I'm not trying to like,
I'm scared.
I'm not trying to rile up you. I'm just, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
he doesn't know him.
He just came off like a little gentleman almost too.
Yeah.
And I was just like, how could you?
And also too, the neighbor is so sweet. He's like, come sit down.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about
And you can hear him
this.
break into tears on the phone with the police because he said it's obvious that this kid has been.
And they're like, you're not going anywhere. You're staying right here.
Right.
Like, you're not coming.
And they took him to the hospital.
Yeah,
because his injuries were so bad.
Well, he was extremely malnourished. There there was duct tape around him.
Well, the ambulance came to get him.
The ambulance came to get him, and he was.
They had like a 3-day hold or something like that. I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, there were visible wounds everywhere.
Yeah. The ambulance said that when they had him, she's like, the one thing I noticed about him is like he was skin and bones. Like, she was like, that's the first thing I noticed. Was
it's heartbreaking.
There was one of the police officers said that she saw tendons or something like in front of the shin or around the ankle or something that you normally never see.
Yeah,
like
that's when it's bad. You could tell on the video. I was just like, he's a skeleton. What's it called, emaciated or whatever it's called, or
emaciated
shoulder blades.
they
were just poking out.
Everything. So, and then the child shares with the police that he has a younger sister who also is living at Jody's home, but he hasn't seen her in over a month.
Yeah,
which is wild. Like, you're in the same house and you don't see your sister for over a month.
Right.
So at this point, the police are like, we don't need a warrant.
No, yeah. And I think like I was thinking too that like they're familiar with the case, maybe. Or something.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking too.
It's a small
because
city.
I feel like sometimes too they might have to like wait to get some sort of approval from whatever, but like the way that they just were like, now we're going. Like, we don't even care anymore. Right. And I was just like, as you should. As you should.
And so they broke into Jody's home, pulled her out, started searching the home. And they find...
And it took them a while to get the little girl to come out.
The fact that she was already on the phone with the lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
Such a telltale.
Like, she knew she was screwed. Yeah. And, they find her in a closet, like, near, like, one of the lower levels. Yeah. And sitting. Shaved head. They actually thought mistook her for a young boy. Yeah. Malnourished, frightened. And then the other two older children weren't at Jody's home. She was
probably terrified that she was going to get beaten for going with them.
Oh, yeah. She was just sitting there Indian style on the floor. Like, the clip is so sad. The police officer is all choked up and he's sitting there with her.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, because he didn't want to leave her and he wanted to, like, make sure that she was okay. Yeah. Honestly, like, it makes sense, though. Like, she doesn't say anything. She doesn't do anything. No. You get abused to such a breaking point where, like, if I just pretend that I'm nothing, then there's no way that any cause could come towards me or any type of abuse. Which obviously, like, if someone's evil, they're just evil. They're gonna choose whatever reason, whatever. But like, the logical thing would be like, everything I do upsets you and makes you angry, so I'm just gonna be like nothing.
Well, then you become dead inside. Yeah, it's awful.
It is awful, and that's where you saw her just kind of like, I'm frozen. I'm not going to respond.
Probably just
I don't want to, like a scared animal. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. That's sad. But sad. The other two children weren't at that level of abuse. I think Ruby had taken them into hiding at a nearby neighbor's back in Happy Valley because they found them there. And then after they found them, Ruby randomly pulled up to her home as they were doing a search on Ruby's home. And that's when she got arrested. And they said, like, her behavior when they were arresting her, there was no asking about the kids. It was just cold. She wouldn't respond to anybody. Just complete cold shoulder. Right. Did not give a shit.
Did not whatsoever.
She didn't answer any of their questions.
No,
at all.
She was just ready to go. Yeah, she didn't have much else to say. But she
the
did call.
Told her to.
She called Kevin ahead of time though to let Kevin know to come and get the kids.
Well, she did.
And Kevin's over here like, oh my gosh, my queen.
Because it had been over a year. It had been over a year.
I know, but like you ignore everybody else telling you to come get your kids. I don't know if he actually blocked everyone. Now, come on. There had to been somebody in that support group you're logging into that you probably still had connections with that texted you on the side and was like, you need to come and get your kids.
Possibly.
Please.
I don't know.
Something's going on. So I don't really believe that, like, he never got word that, like, you know, his kids are da-da-da.
You know, that's just the thing is, I mean, maybe not to that extent, but he saw abuse and he ignored it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that she was the one that had to tell him, like, come and get your kids, like, I don't know, that's very suspicious.
Well, and how she presented it was interesting. So she calls him, redeem yourself. Yeah, this is a time to redeem yourself. I need to catch you up. The kids are possessed and by demons, and they've admitted it, and they're lying to They're lying to the police now about and saying terrible things about me, and so I need you to go grab your children, and this is your chance up for redemption. And he was just like eating that up, like, absolutely, I'll go get our little demon spawns.
I'll jump on my white horse and I'll finally come and save the day.
Yeah, thinking he's a shining white knight, and he gets there, and he's so removed from the situation that cops are like, "What?" Yeah.
100%.
He's been
110%.
in a real toxic situation for a minute.
And he cooperates with the police to a point. He's like, I'm here to pick up my kids. And they said, we have a few questions to ask you first.
They're like, yeah, we're not giving you your kids.
Right.
Yeah. And he's like, well, why not?
Right.
And they try to show him photos of the physical abuse that had taken place, and he refused to see them because he couldn't take it. He could not handle it.
He should have had to look at them.
Well, didn't he say that he thought that they are like made up or something, and you couldn't trust it?
He approached the interview he was very suspicious of them, and felt like they were just trying to lie to him. And I mean, they see the police as the enemy last
year,
right?
He'd have seen it.
But these are the police from Happy Valley.
Happy Valley. There it goes again. The twang.
Happy Valley, or like wherever. I don't know if they're out in the sand dunes where the woman is in the desert. But
when you're in that state of paranoia, you think it's you against the world, and he thinks he's battling Satan, right? And he has to pick up his demon-infested children. So the police are obviously on Satan's side, and he's
bananas. But at some point, I'd be like, he hasn't seen his kids in a year.
He hasn't, but I'm also kind of like part of me is like, oh, poor Kevin, but the other part of me is like, you married a crazy woman.
He's so brainwashed.
You saw the crazy come out at some point,
and some of it is just I don't want to know.
Right, right.
And that I don't want to know part. That's shame on you.
Shame on you, because it still makes you accountable to a certain.
Oh, you're 100% accountable.
He's a father.
So it's just like he didn't want to like really take in the reality of the situation, because the reality. What does that say about him?
That's why he kept ignoring what everyone said. Because then he, I don't know, is accountable for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's his fault.
It's just sad because it's exactly what he didn't want to be.
Fault.
I know.
Yeah.
So this is my take. Well, you can go on.
No,
we're not at the summation. Are we at the summation?
At the what?
Summation, the summary, the ending.
Oh no, I was gonna. So we get into the second search of Jody's home, which they uncover more evidence.
Yeah.
Because as the youngest son he started reporting more, like as he was in the hospital, he started talking about how he had been treated at the home. And they were like, you know what? This is enough to do a second search. Yeah. So they find the basement with the door had a safe.
Yeah, had a lock on it.
And during the initial arrest, Jody was like, I don't remember the code.
Yeah, okay, but then they guessed it. Yeah, they literally guessed it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. He's like, how did you not remember that?
And they walk in and they find, oh no, where did it go? Because I had a list.
I know it's like some sort of spicy concoction.
Gauze, duct tape, rope, and cayenne pepper honey paste that they used to apply to the wound to make it hurt more.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I think some of the stuff was used in there because there were photos.
Oh yeah, you know that was used.
Well, like but it wasn't just like freshly sitting in a fresh mason jar unsealed. Like it was open. Things were
I hope
things
that
were.
They put that in her eye.
So they also found a blue folder, I think on Ruby's nightstand, with a handwritten, essentially a repentance log of all the terrible things she did to them literally every single day. And a lot of that was, being forced to run in extreme heat, carry weights, jump on a trampoline for hours, forced to, they like drive him out to a place called Hellhole Road and just make him run.
Can we just talk about how obviously she must have like an eating disorder / like body dysmorphia herself, because she's very much projecting her, like, in my opinion, she looks too skinny. I would dare say she's super strict on like the way she eats for herself, but she's projecting that onto her kids, and then she's making them like obsessively work out. It just seems like this weird control issue that she has within herself.
Maybe she thinks she's gonna,
and she's putting that on her kids.
Maybe she's like, oh, they're gonna sweat out the demon. But yeah, I get you.
Yeah, it just seems weird. Like a weird control issue that she has for herself, and then she had to like, you know.
Yeah, because it's like
projected on others.
I have seen like the spicy mixture put on wounds. I've heard of that before, which that's like just diabolical.
That's crazy.
But it's interesting that that's her methods of like, you know, abuse and stuff like that. Because other stories you hear of child abuse, you know, you hear of different things,
right?
That are common. But with her, it's just a little bit more into like the health. Like overly active, overly health, overly this and that and the other, and you kind of wonder why. Where's that coming from?
Yeah, where is it coming from? I don't know if it's like something in her past that she had to deal with.
Yeah,
but there definitely seems to be a trend.
Yeah,
projecting trend for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I can see that. Yeah,
it's not funny. It's just it's so ridiculous. Our minds can't fully wrap around it because it's something that we just can't fathom doing to a child ever. But the fact that she's like logged it as a repentance list is just kind of like showing that she knows that it's wrong, but at the same time, she's like, I'm gonna keep doing it anyway.
Right.
And so it's just like, okay, girl, like you keep projecting off of so many reasons why you want to do this to your own children. And then on top of it, you're keeping a diary of you essentially believing that your kids are demons and, you know, Satan's got a hold of them and you're not going to stop until either you get Satan to release hold of your child or either the child dies. So she's pretty committed.
Yeah. She was definitely going down that route.
I mean, the police say that if the kid hadn't escaped, they would have died. He said that they saved him and his sister's life.
They were going down definitely a worse path of the cops finding 2 dead children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And dare I say, it could have been literally any moment, hour, time of day. Like, because the way that he was so starved, if she would have been like, take a lap, that would have been
could have died.
Yeah, because it's just like, you have athletes that like train and take care of their bodies and stuff, and even if they don't go
He's a child.
and fuel with electrolytes and do what they need to do to go on a run and stuff, they could pass out and potentially die just from like heat exhaustion, not feeling your body properly, whatever. And you got a kid that hasn't seen a meal and who knows when, and you're gonna say take a lap.
Infection from that crazy concation they have, putting it on wounds, kill them. Yeah, so you know they haven't seen a doctor in a minute.
Right.
Oh,
well, yeah. The doctor would have been like immediately you're staying with us.
Yeah.
So it's like it was 100% like those children were gonna die
down that route. Yeah,
for sure.
And she would have gone too far. One of them would have died, and then we'd been talking about something completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
But they believed in what they were doing so much that, I mean, again, they think the police are Satan. And so when they're interrogating Jody's acting like she's on their side. I don't remember. She was like, "Oh, I wish I could help you guys."
Girl, shut up.
My attorney told me that I can't talk, but I'm a psychologist, so like I totally get it. Like I totally get it.
Yeah, she's like saving my own assets.
Yeah, and the police are like, whatever, like they can see right through it. And then Ruby, one of the police officers said it was the most awkward interrogation that she's had because she was just sitting there staring, like deadpan, just stared at her. Yeah. And the police officer's trying to ask questions.
He's like, "What's your name?" And she's just
nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I would have wanted? I would have loved for an interrogator to come in there that would have been a philosopher Christian, to cause her probably a mental breakdown to defeat her logic. So she would have to go back and question every single
she won't, though. She won't. Just think of any like
Jody's a Mormon philosopher,
religious, super political, any kind of like extremist that even sitting down with them, telling them the other facts. If anything, psychology says that if we sit down and argue the other side, it just makes them hold on to their opinion harder.
Yeah, but
it reinforces what
there
they
are
already believe in.
breakthroughs when people hear the other side or whatever that contradicts them, no matter what.
Not
like prison time has to.
And maybe prison time would have to, but it still would have been, even if it was somebody that like was Mormon, that like sat down, like one of the prophets that they have or whatever, and sat down and was just like, so at what point did you derail to the point where this and that and the other? Not to say that she would have like converted and be like, oh my gosh, what I've done, but more so to be kind of like, okay, so this is what the Mormon church believes, and then this is what you believe.
Kind of get the wheels
make
turning.
it make sense and have like the wheels turning, and maybe for her to marinate in it a little bit while she's in prison more. But it just would have been interesting to kind of see like some of that being contested, because I do feel like people do need to have that happen, whether or not it has like a wonderful outcome of like, oh my gosh, what have I done to my babies? I don't think she's even doing that now.
I
to be honest with you,
I don't think so.
Personally, I think she's a narcissist. I don't think she's gonna come close to a breakthrough by someone telling her.
Probably not.
So, especially because she thinks she knows best. So why would she listen?
And
to
Jody
them?
knows best.
I think
she's
that
godlike in her opinion.
I think that's what it is, and I think like I will entertain the idea that I don't think that she ever really wanted to be a mom.
She wanted to be something more than that. She wanted to be called. She was called to be something more.
Yeah. I don't think that I think it's with some people who like the idea of what being a mother brings, but I think when it comes down to like the real responsibility of being the mother, I think it's like really hard, and some people really struggle a hard time. And I'm not giving her the cop out of, postpartum depression or like whatever goes in that realm. But I think in general, I think that to be honest with you, I think she didn't like where her life was leading. And I think the way that she tried to take control of it was in a very evil way. And it had nothing to do with being a mother or motherhood, but she wanted to carry that title because of like the fame, the light, the power that it gave her.
Yeah, I think she kept having kids because she wanted to appear as this so amazing mom. And then when she realized,
it's not so fun.
It's not so fun. It's a lot of hard work. And then it also ended up not going anywhere. Like people were like, you're actually not the greatest mom. And she wanted to rebrand herself. And unfortunately, that meant get rid of the kids, basically.
Yeah.
It's like rebranding herself in a way that you think would have been completely different, but it still was in the same like group of, I'm a mom who knows best. So let me be now real, because the mask is pulled off and the real ones will get it. So this is how you take control over your household before it gets out of hand. Yeah. And it's just like,
it's how to one up the moms that are better than her.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't
get better.
One up a savior.
Right. Arguably not.
Yeah. You really can't. I think that it makes sense for a narcissist to go down that pathway. It's like what title can you get like max of?
They're not thinking from a normal point of view.
No. And then, the people they brainwash aren't thinking from a normal point of view either. So at this point in time, Chad and Kevin, they're still eating it up and thinking that they deserve this being kicked out of their home.
Grew up with this. They've been brainwashed their whole lives.
I'm sure they still have a lot of work to go through.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
But at this point, when they get arrested, they're both held without bail, by the way. But Chad and Kevin, Chad reaches out to Kevin because he finds out on the news that his mom's in jail. And he reaches out to Kevin and he goes, what's going on? I have no one else to talk to. And Kevin goes, I'm going to check in on the house. Come and meet me there. Again, it's been over a year since they've seen each other. And so Chad doesn't even recognize his dad, like super skinny and hasn't been taking care of himself. And Kevin's like, oh my God, Chad's gotten so big. That's so weird. It's been over a year, no contact. And then they meet again at the Franke house and Kevin fills him in about how his siblings are possessed and, they've got Ruby and Jody and, they need to try to keep the family together or whatever. And, Chad's eating it up. And then Kevin walks inside and the house is a mess. Ruby's house is a mess because she's never there anymore. She's in St. George. And but you see photos of just clutter everywhere and it's just in a complete state of disarray. And Kevin's like, what is going on? Like, this isn't adding up. Why is the house a mess like this? And then his neighbors pop over. And
they're like, where you been?
Yeah. And they're also like, you didn't know that your wife was moving? And Kevin's like, what? My wife was moving.
Oh, yeah. She was about to leave you.
Yeah.
Leave her whole life behind.
Right. And he just had no idea. And they're like, where have you been?
Yeah.
And so at this point, they sit down.
Wake up, bro.
Yep. And they give him the talk of a lifetime. It lasted 6 hours.
Oh, yeah. I want to say, that's what I'm saying.
I got some stuff to say.
That's what I'm saying, though. I think that, like, whether it's going to, like, because, like, it could have been a talk of a lifetime and then Kevin just be, like, still 10 toes down for his wife. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of like, if no one's going to tell you, we're going to tell you.
Is that
10 toes down?
10 toes down.
Yeah, it is.
Huh.
10 toes down.
I don't know how to feel about it.
If you put 10 toes on the floor, you're grounded.
Oh.
You're firm.
All right.
Okay.
Unless you're on your tippy toes, but it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a ballerina, you probably got some strong support.
It's true.
Okay. So, anyways, I feel like if someone is going to, like, have a breakthrough, it has to be someone that's going to be like, sit down for a second. Yeah. Let me fill you in. Let me just jog your brain a little bit, because his wiring and the way that he's deluded is very much like, one, I don't even believe my kids are, like, really in, like, danger or, like, at harm or whatever. So it's just like, no, clearly they're at the hospital right now. Like, there's some bad things going on.
They're
so it's
definitely breaking it down for him, giving him common sense. And Kevin starts asking questions for the first time instead of just submitting to everything that someone's telling him. And then Kevin turns to Chad and was like, hey, your mom she's done some messed up things. Like, the kids are not possessed. Children are not possessed. Children are not evil. And so him and his dad were just finally on the same page and saw Ruby and Jody in a different light, which is what needed to happen.
Right.
Yeah. And goodness, after that, I think it was December 2023, Ruby and Jody both pled guilty to multiple counts of aggravated child abuse. I think they did that through a plea deal or plea agreement. What do they call it?
Plea bargain?
Plea deal.
Yeah, plea deal. Okay. Yeah. So each was sentenced up to 30 years in prison. There's a video of Ruby's apology to the family. Sherry doesn't believe it. So she's like, I've seen enough crocodile tears on YouTube. I know she's not in any contact with her mother. She's never speaking to her again, which is completely valid.
Who?
Sherry. Yeah.
The
Chad,
oldest.
I don't think is talking to her. He still has love in his heart for her.
Right.
But believes that she deserves what she is in prison for.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin is filed for divorce, but he still loves her very much. At least that's what he said in the documentary when the interviewer asked him. And
he needs therapy. He needs to heal.
Yeah.
I think that,
you said, he probably needs to find someone else.
I think so, but I think it would probably be best that he got therapy first all that. Sure. I know, like, you can be in therapy and date at the same time, but I really think it probably do him some good to be in therapy.
I just don't understand how you can love someone that has hurt your children like that. Like, the love would be gone for me.
I think the best way I can not rationalize it, but maybe, like, understand what has happened is just like any other abusive relationship that we see.
Yeah.
Like, why is it that, like, you see domestic violence, like DV relationships happen, and you look at them and you're like, well, leave. They're hitting you.
Yeah.
They're hurting you. Or they're doing whatever it is to you that, like, is just so unreasonable that you need to leave this relationship. However, it's not as easy for them to, like, rewire their brain and be like, oh, you're right. Like, there's a fire in the house. I need to leave the house.
Right.
So I think that, like, with him, even though he knew his wife was, like, kind of a little off a rocker, I think at the end of the day, he probably was like, I've invested all this time. I've, like, put on all this work.
All these
and,
happy
like,
memories.
All these happy memories. Surely she's not evil.
Right.
Surely, you know, I married someone that, you know, still has the best interests of me and my family at heart. Right. And I think that, like, with her deluded ties with Connection, him being in Connection and drinking the Kool-Aid too, I think that it really caused him to turn turn away when it came to things that was very, very questionable and also just downright wrong.
Right.
I do think that he's responsible for some of it and taking accountability when he should have. But at the same time, I think that like when you're in a cult of that magnitude, I think you end up doing things that you never thought you were going to be doing or advocating for. So,
I mean, I do think emotional abuse especially happens gradually, and no one ever thinks that they are going to get led down the path that they are led down eventually.
That's true.
And
You don't know how bad it's going to go.
Yeah, it makes you feel naive at the end, but you don't understand like all the connecting pieces that got you there. I will say the moment I turn is when he left his kids for a year. Like,
yeah,
I think he got desperate.
He has his kids now, but yeah,
there's just a part of me like I don't care, you know, like
there's no excuse.
I've been in you know bad situations before, and it's like I just can't imagine. So.
Yeah,
there's no excuse, but it's like I've never been in that situation, but then at the same time, I also have got to the point where you think people are going to do the right thing, but they just don't end up doing it. They don't end up sticking up for themselves, and they don't end up sticking up for other people. And then you sit back and you're like, wow, and you wonder how they got there. So I think for me, I think it's more so of, it's that I just am not surprised that he didn't stick up for his kids. I'm not surprised. I think that's the category I put myself in.
Yeah.
Like you think he should have, but at the same time, it's like, well, I see it happen a lot of times where people end up doing some, just like, why did you do that? Like, why didn't you?
I get it, but I don't get it.
I don't know.
That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I don't really get it either, because I know if I was in that situation, it would have been a long time ago.
Right.
A long time ago. Like,
it's
to be
easy
honest
to say
with you,
that.
I always think to myself, a lot of the times there could have been red flags a long time ago, even before they got married, to be honest with you.
You're like that bored. That
no, I'm so serious. Like, part of me is just kind of like, I don't know, like, you can tell a lot about somebody, like, even when dating them or whatever. And so it's just kind of like, not to say that he deserved it or they deserved it, but I'm also just kind of like, man, you really got to be careful who you marry.
Right.
Yeah.
You really do. Like,
his final words to the interviewer, he was like, yeah, her actions were atrocious, but I still long for her. And I was like, yeah. I was
and
like,
on that note.
On that note,
it's
really.
giving desperate. It's giving like, you need to like, I don't know, go to Vegas.
Bro.
Go to Miami.
Very much so.
I don't know.
Just take a chill pill, enjoy the nightlife. I hope he's doing that now. I do know he has his kids back under his custody. Jesse, why did I say that? Chad, he is now a social media influencer on his own. He does his own
Sherry
thing.
too?
Sherry, yes, but she actually advocates against family vlogging. And she's written a book. I don't remember what it's called, but she's written a book about her experience and kind of gives more insight about her mother and Jody and their relationship. And that's where it's more heavily implied that they were definitely in a relationship.
Yes. There's a law now too out about protecting specifically children in vlogging and video creation now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, in the sense of like, they have to have a certain percentage that goes to a trust fund and everything. And then it's pretty much like work labor law enforcement and making sure like the welfare of the child and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's due to like these stories that have been popping up specifically in Utah.
Right.
Because there's like other big families out there too that are also doing like social media
and I mean,
heavy stuff.
Bringing up the Duggar family again, though, that's another reason, because I'd love to talk about them sometime. We'll probably have to do an episode soon.
We're gonna have to do like a whole separate episode because I got a lot to say about them.
Yeah, but they weren't paid and stuff. So
right.
Yeah, there's a lot there. So I'm glad to hear that there's a rule now or a law when it comes to children's rights when it comes to
I think it's been
vlogging.
At least within the last year, I think
right.
that they've instated it. So I was just kind of like, wow, dang.
Yeah. But I hope that the kids continue to recover and they kind of rebuild somewhat of a family, and that Kevin is now a positive role model. I hope that that's all going well, and I hope I keep wanting to say Rudy. It's like their couple name. I hope that Rudy serves their full time, right? There was actually another small, and this is something we can cover maybe in another episode, or maybe if we start up a Patreon, but there was another small clip that I watched on, or a small episode I watched on Hulu. It was a bonus segment about Jodi's past victims. And so Jodi's niece, I believe, Jessie Hildebrandt, experienced abuse long before this happened. Yeah. And then also one of Jodi's past clients comes forward. It was on Hulu. It was by Impact and Nightline. Yeah. So it's called Rube Franke, a Momfluencer's Double Life?
I watched that one. It was
good. Yeah. So Jessie kind of opens up about her abusive experience with Jodi, and then an old client of Jodi's comes forward and talks about how his marriage was ruined and stuff. So if you want to hear more about that and kind of talk about it together, let us know in the comments because I'd love to share. But
let us know you guys' thoughts about this one.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what y'all think. Do you think Kevin should have served time as well? Do you think that he should have gotten custody back with his kids? Do you think Ruby wanted to be a mom, really?
Do you think Ruby and Jodi were Rudy?
We're Rudy. Hashtag Rudy.
Were they hashtag Rudy?
I love me some lesbians, but just the two of them as people are just not great.
Yeah.
So I can't support.
Yeah, toxic couple.
Yeah. Toxic couple.
Yeah.
Can't support people that beat on children. It's not a good. It's not a good look.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let us know if you've read Sherry's book, because I kind of want to read it.
I think I have read it.
Yeah.
I think it's on my Audible.
Cool. Okay.
I'll share my login later.
Yeah. I feel like out of all of them, Sherry looks like the one that's the most mentally stable.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because she was just
much?
like. Well, I don't know, because it's just like just looking at her, but maybe it's because she got out before it got bad.
It's possible.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's very true. Was she the oldest or was Chad the oldest?
She was the oldest.
She's the oldest.
She very much has older daughter.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it seems like she's made up in her mind, like that woman. Like she wasn't even calling her mom.
Oh,
she was just like Ruby.
No. Yeah, Rudy.
I know they did in my bedroom.
Okay. Oh, gross.
Right. I gotta go get some more cinnamon bread.
All right. Well, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back next Wednesday. So we'll see you then.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.